We have some powers here. We've got to use our power rules to simplify these expressions. And in this case, it says leave them with positive indices. So that means if our final answer was like that, with a negative indices or power, we would be wrong. So we do need to check that at the end. So in part 1, we have 9a squared times b to the power of negative 4, all raised to the power of 0.5. Now you might be thinking, what the heck is a 0.5 power? That is a great point. So let's find out. Menu, run maths. Let's do 16 to the power of 0.5. We get 4. What about 36 to the power of 0.5? We get 6. So 0.5 is actually the same as to the power of a half, right? Half, 0.5 are the same, which is the same as a square root, right? Square root of 36 is 6. So what that means is 9 to the power of 0.5 is the same as the square root of 9. A squared to the power of 0.5 is the square root of a squared, and so on. So when we have a term like this in brackets, all raised to a power, we can distribute the power, and that's where we do 9. There's a little hidden 1 there, right? To the power of 1 times 0.5. So powers of powers, we multiply. Then we have a squared times 0.5. And then we have b to the power of negative 4 times 0.5. Now you don't need to write this step, I'm just showing the full working. So that becomes 9 to the power of 0.5, a to the power of 1, right, which is just a, and b to the power of negative 2. So that rule is called powers of powers. Powers of powers, we multiply them. Multiply the powers. Great, so that simplified it a bit. And remember, 9 to the power of 0.5 is the same as the square root of 9, but we could always just check. 9 to the power of 0.5 is 3. So that simplifies to 3. And we're still left with a, b to the negative 2. Now, are we done? No, right? We have a negative indices. So to convert a negative power to a positive power, let's do an example here. Let's use a number. So 4 to the power of negative 2 is the same as 1 over 4 to the power of positive 2. So let's check. 4 to the power of negative 2 is that number there. 1 divided by 4 to the power of positive 2 is also that number. One more example. Let's do 1 over 2 all to the power of negative 4. That is the same as 2 over 1 to the power of positive 4. So what I've done there is I've inverted it. So in the case of 4, I did 1 over that squared, which is technically the same as that. But for the 1 over 2, I inverted the fraction and then raised it to the positive power. But back to the problem. In this case, the b to the power of negative 2, since we invert it, it becomes 3a over b squared. And that's our final answer. In part 2, we have a fraction now, all raised to a negative power. So using this rule, the negative power rule, we can write this as 3b to the power of 4 divided by 2a, all raised to the positive 2. Right, so we eliminated the negative power. And now we have powers of powers, right? We can distribute the power across. So we'd get 3 squared. We'd get b to the power of 8, right? 4 times 2, divided by 2 squared times a squared, which is 3 squared is 9, b to the 8, over 2 squared is 4, a to the 2. And that would be our final answer.